Alright, so I have a Samsung Ultrabook. This is the hinge that has broken and separated on the display, and it's kind of a poor design. It has a plastic piece there that's mounted to the hinge, and so I have a replacement cover that I've ordered from eBay, and this is an aluminum cover, and as you can see, the one from the factory is made the same way. I think it has this plastic piece that's mounted to the hinge, and it's just a stress point, so it's just a poor design. I would imagine this one will break after a couple of years too, so we'll see where we're at then and decide whether we want to replace it at that point, because this one's a couple of years old. But we're going to take this apart and replace the back cover on this display. And so what we're going to have to do is this face plate here, if we can get focus here, this face plate around the edges, this trim plate has to come off. I'm going to probably have to heat that with a hairdryer a little bit, and take some tools. I've got a little kit here that for working on cell phones. It has these little plastic pieces, these little pry bars and things, and I'm going to have to work on it to get that off there because it's got adhesive on it, and then there's screws in here to hold the back to the LCD screen. So I'm going to set the camera up and just video what I'm doing here, and we'll see how we do with this. Alright, as you can see, this trim plate is really thin aluminum, and it has bent pretty bad, but it didn't break or crack, so we'll see what it looks like when I put it back on. It's put on there with some adhesive, and I think I have some 3M double stick tape that'll probably hold that on there well, so we'll see how that does. And now there are 4 screws. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 screws that I'll take out. Those are small screws, so you may need a precision screwdriver like this. The LCD should come right out of there. There's this cover down here I think has to come off. So this piece is a little bit harder to get off, and I find it's best to pull the LCD up a little bit and then just pry it out of there and it'll pop out. And we'll lay the LCD down carefully. We'll take the screws out of the hinges. I'll have to take the LCD cable loose. It's taped on there. And it looks like there's a plug on there. I'll pull it out. Plugs in right here for the camera. You want to be careful with that. I didn't see that at first. It's covered up by the tape. Like each of these hinges has 3 screws in it. Oh, and be careful with the screws. And unfortunately, it looks like these wires on the replacement are really long, which means this goes all the way back into the laptop, and I'm going to have to take the whole bottom piece apart to get to those wires. So I'm going to pull these out, and since it looks like that all comes on the new piece, I'm just going to snip that off. And don't forget, you have to take the camera out. It looks like it's in here with adhesive. Just a little bit of adhesive. Carefully peel this off. And you'll probably need the plug, this little circuit board down here for the camera too, because the one I have did not come with it. And that's on there pretty good. Again, it's just adhesive. So we'll set that to the side. And I'll just snip these wires because we're going to replace all those anyway. And there you have the poor design. We need to take the screws out of the old hinge. I'm going to want to inspect these hinges carefully because I did buy new hinges because I thought the hinges were broke. So if they appear to be problematic, I'll probably go ahead and replace those while I have the whole thing apart. So there's the piece that is broken. Goes in the trash. And those hinges don't appear to be too loose or anything, so they may be fine. We'll see. So with it like this, you have to be very careful because that LCD display is kind of hanging loose and has a little bit of adhesive on it. So we're going to lay it flat like that while we work on it from the bottom. And this is something you have to be really careful of. It is really easy to accidentally turn this unit on. And I have another video on my channel on how to take this thing apart, but it's been a while since I've done it, so kind of winging this a little bit. Those screws are tight. Some of these screwdrivers are from, like I said, cell phone repair kits. So they are excellent for this type of work because you have the real tiny tips and a bigger grip for leverage. And just so I don't forget where they go, I'm going to put my old screws into the cover that go into the bottom. You don't want to get those mixed up with the screws that hold the other pieces together on the display. Not sure if they're the same size or not. It looks like they're a good bit longer. And I can't get those screws out. Let's see if I can use a piece of tape to pick them up like that. And looks like you have to take the hard drive out because the screws that hold the hard drive in are also holding part of the case on. As I mentioned, I've done this once before with this particular laptop in it, but it's been a couple of years, so I don't recall the exact steps. And so you want to unplug the hard drive here very carefully. It's a very fragile cable. All these little ribbon cables are very fragile. There we go. Unplug it from the hard drive rather than from the board. And this should come off now, I believe. I think maybe it has to come off this side first. Little catches in there that hold this together. Get the camera around a little bit. I apologize if the unit wasn't in the camera view the whole time. Didn't realize that. And it looks like I have at least a couple more screws here. There's that one. And one here. And there's the bottom. It's always a good idea to blow out the fan and everything while you have it apart. And trace these wires, see where they go to. And looks like they are the antenna wires for the wireless card, and you want to pay attention to this. The antenna wires, looking at it from the front of the keyboard, this would be the display. The black is on the left, white is on the right. And these are the ones I snipped because they're included on the replacement. They're kind of threaded around there. So this is where it might get a little fun, because we have to put these in there and deal with this kind of display being kind of loose and floppy here. See if maybe we can put that on the hinges first. Might make it easier to work with. When I get my replacement hinges and inspect and compare to the originals. They're definitely loose, and they look like one is bent. So I'm going to go ahead and replace those while I'm in here, since I have them. I will say, while I do like the useful design of the laptop, I can't say much for the functional design from the standpoint of how durable it is. I had a lot of problems with the charging cords on this unit, and that's what my other video is about. And the way I fixed that was I ordered some of these replacements off of eBay, and it's actually has an adapter on it down to the right size, and hacked up the original charging cords and put those on it. Yeah, these hinges are definitely much better, so I highly recommend replacing those. So if you have one of these that's broken like this, the three things you're going to want is the clamshell back cover to the LCD display, the hinge cover piece that goes along the front of the clamshell at the bottom of the display, and also the hinges, because you do not want to take this thing apart any more times than you have to. So in all, this is probably about a $50 or $60 repair doing it myself. Being actually this laptop is almost 3 years old. So an average consumer taking it somewhere to be repaired will probably be at least a couple $100, maybe $300. It is like a $700 or $800 laptop, so it'll probably last a couple more years. It's an i5 processor. But and looks like that something's not right with that hinge. Maybe it's just turned. Take that off of there again and check it. Thought they were spring loaded, but they're not, so no big deal. We'll just adjust it where it looks the same as the other one. Alright, so we'll see if we can get this display back mounted first before we put the rest of it in there. These little screws are really hard to work with. A lot easier if you have a magnetic screwdriver, which I don't have in front of me at the moment. And that looks a lot better. So we'll put the camera back in. There's already some adhesive up there for that. And there's lines on here that show you where this little ribbon goes. And set the display back in here. There's that little plug. Don't forget, we've got to get plugged back in here. And that's going to be a tough one to get to because of the position of that wire. Too bad. Once we get all that in there, cover that back up with that piece of tape. And put our little flat screws back in to hold that display into place. Alright, so now that that's solid, looks like it matches up real well. Put that back in there. Get this wire feeds through a little hole. wire kind of feeds around through here. Try to tilt that up so you can see it a little bit. Comes around the CPU fan. There's little tabs here to tuck it in. And there's a little channel here. And the black one goes over here. The original one was white, this one's gray, but it goes on the other side. And you want to tuck these wires down nice and tight. Now we can start to put the bottom back together. It goes on the back first. A couple little tabs there that kind of snap in where it's curved. And snap the whole unit together. And then we'll start putting the hard drive and the other screws back in it. The 4 screws for the hard drive are a little longer than the others, as well as the 2 I took out of the middle here. The ones that go around the outside of the bottom of the case are not quite as long. In case you're curious, this is the memory slot to expand the memory. Okay, so my video shut off before I quite finished. I did put the faceplate back on it. As you can see, it's kind of wavy, so I'll have to order a new one to replace that. There's no way to recover that. It's thin aluminum, and I'll just have to deal with that till I get a replacement. But the laptop is assembled. It's all nice and tight now, except I got one little place here I need to squeeze together. But other than that, the unit's finished and complete, and I hope that helps someone.